Remember me? I'm your flag. Some folks call me Old Glory. Others call me the Stars and Stripes, the ensign, or just the flag. But whatever they call me, I am your flag. And as I proudly state, the flag of the United States of America. Something's been bothering me lately. I was wondering if I might talk it over with you. It's about you and me. I remember some time ago, I think it was Memorial Day, or maybe it was the 4th of July. People lined up on both sides of the street to watch the parade. When your father saw me coming along, waving in the breeze, he took his hat off and held it against his left shoulder. His hand was directly over his heart. Remember? And you. I remember you, standing there, straight as a soldier. You didn't have a hat on, but you gave the correct salute. They taught you in school, place your hand over your heart. I was proud, very proud. As I came down the street, oh yes, there were some servicemen there, standing at attention, giving the military salute. Ladies as well as men, civilians as well as military, taking respect, reverence. Now, I sound a bit conceited. Well, I have a right to it. I represent the finest country in the world, the United States of America. More than one aggressive nation has tried to hold me down, only to feel the fury of this freedom-loving country. Many of you have to go overseas to defend me. A lot more blood has been shed since those patriotic parades of long ago. And I've had a few stars added since you were a boy, but I'm still the same old flag. Years have gone by, and the hometown has a new look. The last time I came down your street, I noticed that some of the old landmarks had given way to a number of new buildings and homes. Yes, sir, the old town has changed. I guess I have too, because I don't feel as proud as I did back then. I see youngsters running and shouting through the streets. People selling hot dogs and beer while our national anthem plays. They don't seem to know or care who I am. Not too long ago, I saw a man take his hat off when I came by. He looked around, didn't see anybody else with their dog, so he quickly put his hat back on. Now, when I come down your street, you just stand there with your hands in your pockets. Occasionally, you give me a small glance and look away. When I think of all the places I've been, Normandy, Guadalcanal, Iwo Jima, Battle of the Bulge, Korea, Vietnam, Panama, Grenada, Somalia, Haiti, Bosnia, Iraq, and Afghanistan, I wonder, what's happened? I'm still the same old flag. How can I be expected to fly high and proud from buildings and homes when within them there is no thought, love, or respect for me? Whatever happened to patriotism, your patriotism, have you forgotten what I stand for? Have you forgotten all the battlefields where men and women fought and died to keep this nation free? When you salute me, you salute them. Take a look back at the memorial honorable sometime. Look at the names of those who never came back. Some of them were friends and relatives of yours. Maybe even went to school with you. That's what you're saluting, not me. Well, it won't be long before I come down your street again. So when you see me, stand straight and place your hand over your heart. Do this because I represent you. You'll see me way back. My salute to you.
As we begin today, I would like to welcome and acknowledge all of the veterans and guests seated in the audience and on stage. Thank you for your service to our nation. We have before you representatives from nearly every branch and every conflict since World War II. I would like to especially recognize a few of our guests. Retired Colonel Bob Meyer, President of Honor Flight Northeast Indiana. Mr. Dennis Coburg and Kathy Berkshire, also from the Honor Flight organization. Commander Jan Smith of the Decatur American Legion. 4th District VFW Commander Richard Lemberry. Commander Steve Breedy of the Decatur VFW. Retired Command Sergeant Major Fritz Boltemeyer. World War II veterans Ralph Hamrick, Herb Smitley, Gerhard Whitty, David Tierberg, Fred Edgell, Richard Clark, and Edwin Paul. Whether you served 1 day, 1 year, or 30 years, many of you have made the conscious decision to volunteer your life and the lives of your family members to be a part of the greater whole, to don the uniform of your service and serve in our nation's military. Today is Veterans Day, a day we pause to honor our brave fighting men and women of past and present who, for more than 230 years, have underwritten our freedom by their honor, duty, and selfless service. I'd like to now introduce Zach Myers, who will give a brief history on the establishment of Veterans Day.
World War I, also known as the Great War, was officially concluded on the 11th hour of the 11th day of November in the year 1918. On November 11th of the following year, President Woodrow Wilson declared an Armistice Day in honor of the peace. Armistice is defined as a cessation of hostilities. The day was marked with public celebration and a 2-minute halt to business at 11 a.m. In 1921, the tomb of the unknown soldier was dedicated in Arlington Cemetery with a ceremony on November 11th. After the dedication, Armistice Day was adopted in many states and at a federal level was the day to honor veterans. This was made official in the year 1938 when Congress made Armistice Day a national holiday. In 1954, President Eisenhower changed the name of Armistice Day to Veterans Day. In the year 1971, Congress enacted legislation making Veterans Day the 4th Monday in October. For several years, Veterans Day was observed in October by many states, but in 1978 it was returned to November 11th. Today, Veterans Day is still observed on November 11th as a national holiday to honor all veterans of the United States Armed Forces.
It is my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for today. Dennis Coburg has been involved with Honor Flight Northeast Indiana for 4 years. He has been on 10 Honor Flight trips as a guardian or bus leader, and recently joined the board of directors in June 2014. In the last 7 years, Dennis has made 3 trips to the Central and South Pacific to explore World War II battlefields. He has visited Guadalcanal, Tulagi, Gizo, Tarawa, Utari, Guam, Iwo Jima, and Pohnpei. Mr. Covert is regarded as a knowledgeable individual on World War II history and has appeared on camera as a naval historian on the A&E channel and the History channel in a film documentary about World War II. Dennis is a U.S. Navy Vietnam veteran. Mr. Covert is a graduate of Ball State University. He is a senior vice president / senior consultant with Merrill, Pierce, Lynch, Fenner, and Smith, where he has worked for over 41 years. He and his wife Charlene are Fort Wayne residents and have 2 daughters and 2 grandchildren. Recently, Dennis and Charlene made a significant contribution to totally fund the October 1st honor flight. Please join with me in welcoming Mr. Dennis Covert.
Thank you, Spencer, for that very nice introduction. And thank you to Bellmont High School Principal Kim Harsh for offering this program to honor our veterans. And thank you to Brian Lineberry and your students for coordinating the Veterans Day program. And thank you to Bellmont High School for selecting Honor Flight Northeast Indiana as a beneficiary of your school's fundraising program. It's a credit to your school that you selected Honor Flight Northeast Indiana for your fundraising efforts. Honor Flight was formed in 2005 in Springfield, Ohio, when Earl Morse, a retired Air Force captain and pilot, was working in a hospital. He began to realize that most of the World War II veterans would never be able to see the memorial that was built for them. Earl Morse and 5 other private pilots flew 6 small planes to Washington, D.C. with a total of 12 World War II veterans. Honor Flight was born. Since then, Honor Flight has grown to 140 hubs around the country. Each hub is operated independently with its own board of directors, and each hub must comply with standards established by the National Honor Flight Organization. Nationally, over 135,000 veterans have been transported to Washington. Honor Flight Northeast Indiana has made 14 flights to Washington, D.C., the most recent being October 1, and has transported 910 veterans to Washington. Each flight from Fort Wayne costs approximately $60,000 and is funded completely and entirely by donations. All work to arrange and complete the trips is handled by the Honor Flight Northeast Indiana Board of Directors, who put in hundreds of volunteer hours. Other groups such as the Daughters of the American Revolution, American Legion Post, VFW Post, also contribute time and money. Next year, Honor Flight Northeast Indiana has 4 Honor Flight planned. At $60,000 per flight, we certainly need financial support to make these flights happen. Honor Flights would not be possible if it weren't for contributions from donors such as Bellmont High School. The Board of Directors of Honor Flight Northeast Indiana is very grateful for your support and interest in Honor Flight. It's a great way for you to honor the veterans who have given so much to us. Thank you very much. Tonight at 8 o'clock on PBS 39, there will be a 1-hour film documentary that was produced locally about Honor Flight Northeast Indiana. It will include interviews with 3 World War II veterans from our area. Freedom is not free. Why do we recognize and honor veterans? Everyone in this room knows how to read, and for that you can thank your teachers. And everyone in this room can read in English, and for that you can thank the veterans. During World War II, we had 16 million men and women in uniform. These are the men and women who saved our country. While I can't recognize every veteran in attendance today, I would like to single out one World War II veteran. This particular veteran was an officer in the United States Army and is currently a resident of Decatur. Today, this veteran is 93 years old. In 1945, this Army officer was 24 years old and volunteered to serve overseas and was assigned to Germany. Eileen Zeising, will you please stand and remain standing? Please stand. You don't follow orders too well for a former Army.
Giving them.
Eileen was a nurse and was assigned to a hospital to treat wounded American soldiers in Germany. At age 24, she wasn't too much older than some of you in this room. On October 1, Eileen was a participant on an honor flight from Fort Wayne. I personally had the distinct honor and privilege of escorting Eileen at the tomb of the unknown soldier to lay a wreath. The wreath laying ceremony took place immediately following the changing of the guard at the tomb. Changing of the guard and wreath laying are solemn ceremonies. During the ceremonies, there is no talking, no smoking, no gum chewing, and no cell phones. Unless you're in a wheelchair, you are required to stand. It's a ceremony of honor and respect. Thank you, Eileen. You can sit down. Today is Veterans Day. Veterans Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July. While it's unlikely that any U.S. military veteran would forget the true meaning of these special holidays, it's worth noting that an entire generation has just passed through America without an obligation to serve their country. For many, these holidays may be important because it's a 3-day weekend. Some may not recognize the names of places like Verdun, Tarawa, Peleliu, Saipan, Kwajalein, Normandy, Anzio, the Battle of the Bulge, or the Burma Road. Or how about the Forgotten War, Korea? I was recently asked by someone if the Korean War took place in 1970. And then there was Vietnam, Quezon, the Ho Chi Minh Trail, and desert wars. Veterans do not forget. It's important to remember that what our nation is today is because of what we stood for at the time of national crisis. Veterans Day is a day when we help preserve our history and heritage and remember the sacrifices of all those who served our country. And let's not forget the brave men of the Merchant Marine. During wartime, members of the Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, and Marine Corps engage in combat, but students at their respective academies do not. Of the 5 federal academies, Annapolis, West Point, the Air Force Academy, the Coast Guard Academy, and the Merchant Marine Academy, the Merchant Marine Academy is the only academy that sends its student cadets into combat during times of war. During World War II, 142 Merchant Marine student cadets lost their lives serving in combat operations aboard Merchant Marine vessels. Therefore, the United States Merchant Marine Academy is the only federal academy authorized to carry a battle standard with its color guard. As part of your school history classes, you undoubtedly will learn the names of famous admirals Chester Nimitz, Bill Halsey, Raymond Spruance, and famous generals Douglas MacArthur, George Patton, Omar Bradley, Dwight Eisenhower, and Howling Mad Smith. But also remember that for every famous admiral and general who served, there were millions of other men and women who answered the call and served our country. And remember, freedom is not free, and many Americans have died defending freedom. 100 years ago this year was the beginning of World War I. 4 years later, when the war ended, it was declared to be the war to end all wars. Since then, we've had World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, military actions in Kosovo, Panama, Somalia, Gulf War I, and Gulf War II. On September 11, 2001, the United States was attacked by terrorists, and we entered the era of the war on terrorism.
Our nation is facing one of its greatest challenges. It's a challenge that we as Americans, as citizens of the United States of America, will meet. We have to. We must. We're facing an enemy that is intent upon our destruction. Not just our military, but every man, woman, child, our freedoms, and our way of life. We didn't ask for this fight, and we didn't want this fight, but we'll fight this fight. Americans have never been willing warriors, but Americans have fought and died on every battlefield to defend freedom, and we'll fight this battle as well. And let there be no mistake, the military is a dangerous business. Right now, the men and women of our armed forces are what stand between us and the barbarian terrorists who behead innocent people. We are the enemy of the terrorists, not because of our actions, but we are their enemy because of who we are and what we represent: freedom. America is the most visible symbol of freedom throughout the world. Winston Churchill once said, and I quote, "Courage is rightly esteemed the first of human qualities, because it is the quality which guarantees all others." When you stop and think of our veterans and our active duty military personnel, stop and think about courage. What does courage really mean? How much courage did it take as a paratrooper to jump out of an airplane at midnight over enemy-occupied territory on the morning of D-Day? How much courage did it take for Eileen Zeising to volunteer to serve overseas in a combat zone so that she could treat wounded American soldiers? Some of you may go on to serve in the various branches of the military, and for that I commend you for your willingness to serve our country. But we can all take part in this battle. Be proud to be an American. Be a patriot. Be proud that our nation stands for freedom. Be a credit to yourself, your family, your community, and your country. I'd like to ask that as we enjoy our day here today, and as we return to our homes, knowing that our country is well served and well protected, let's stop and remember all the young men and women who are currently serving our country. Let's stop and remember that right now, while we are here in this room today, Navy ships are at sea, military aircraft are airborne, and troops are stationed in places that are far away from home. We cherish our freedoms. Let's not forget the men and women of the United States Armed Forces who are currently serving to preserve those freedoms. To the veterans in attendance today, I salute you. To the administration, staff, teachers, and student body of Bellmont High School, thank you for honoring our veterans, and thank you for making Honor Flight Northeast Indiana the benefit of your fundraising program.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert, for your service, your message, and for being here today with us. Over the past few days and weeks, the U.S. History topic students have organized events to raise money for a very important veterans organization. Honor Flight Northeast Indiana is a nonprofit organization honoring America's veterans for all of their sacrifices. They fly our local heroes from Fort Wayne to Washington, D.C. for a one-day free visit to reflect at their memorial. On behalf of the staff and students of Bellmont High School who helped raise it, we would like to present a check in the amount of $515.75 to help continue their mission. Here to accept the donation is retired Colonel Bob Miner, President of Honor Flight Northeast Indiana, and board members Mr. Dennis Gilbert and Kathy Beckshire.
In addition, a few organizations and businesses would like to contribute. On behalf of the Sons of the American Legion, $100. On behalf of Bill Miller's Auto Sales, $50. And on behalf of Bungie North America, $200. This makes for a grand total of $865.15 to assist in your mission.
Just a couple of words here. We're certainly overwhelmed by this kind of support, and it's interesting that we're here in Decatur, Indiana, because our first flight in May of 2009, I think the 27 vets on that flight, the majority of them were from Decatur, and I just met a young man here that was on our very first flight out of Fort Wayne, and another gentleman that was on our second flight. And of course, we've had several on our last flight, including Fred Edgell from Decatur, that was our oldest vet ever to go on an honor flight out of Fort Wayne at 99 years old. And Fred is here today. Fred, I don't know if Fred can stand up. Can you hold your hand up, Fred?
All the way on the end of the wheelchair.
In the far end of the wheelchair is Fred. Third row back. So again, thank you so much for this donations, or all these donations. We certainly, as Dennis indicated, we're attempting to do our first 4-year flight next year. So it's close to a $250,000 budget. So this money will be put to very good use, and hopefully we'll be able to come back again in the future. So again, thank you so much for all the support.
Since 1947, the Voice of Democracy has been the Veteran Foreign Awards, or VFW's premier scholarship program. Each year, more than 50,000 high school students compete for $2.3 million in scholarships and incentives. Students compete by writing and recording the broadcast script on an annual patriotic theme. This year's theme was why veterans are important to our nation's history. Bellmont's Social Studies Department has participated in this program for 4 years and has recently submitted entries to Decatur VFW Post 6236 and New Haven VFW Post 2457. Here to share one of the submissions is Senior Rachel Gerard.
People always say veterans are important to our country. But who are veterans? Why are they so important? Veterans are men and women who have fought for our people. They have fought for our freedom. They have fought for our rights, and they have fought for our country. Veterans or war heroes have a life to hang their hat on. It is a life they should be proud of. Veterans are important to our nation's history and future because of their passion to protect our country, their bravery to fight for the freedom of complete strangers, and the way they helped shape our country, forming it into what it is today. Veterans are men and women who have something to be proud of. They fight for our freedom. They fight for that small town flag flying and a newborn baby that is crying. And they do not think twice about it. They do it because of their passion to protect our country. This passion should never be forgotten. This passion is so strong that it has shaped our country's past and is shaping our future as well. Veterans are also important because of their bravery. War heroes risk their lives for the country we call home, not knowing if today or even tomorrow will be their last day. They are not just fighting for their family's freedom, but a whole country's freedom. Veterans end up fighting for complete strangers, but this fact does not matter to them. Veterans are so important because they have the strength and willingness to fight for people they do not even know and to keep the United States safe. Our war heroes protect our country so our country's citizens can keep their freedom. Veterans strive to make our country a comfortable place to live, allowing us to not worry about sudden attacks that often occur in other countries. They do what they are capable of doing to keep an entire country safe from the harm war can bring. Veterans are also important to our nation's history and future because without veterans, our nation would be non-existent. We would still be greatly dependent on England, following their laws and way of life. Our country would not be the United States of America. Our country would not be free. Our country would be different. But because of the many veterans of our nation's history, our country is the country we know and love today. We have rights and freedom. We can have our own laws. We can live life the way we, as Americans, choose to, all because of veterans. Veterans protected the United States and other countries from fascism when Hitler tried to take over during World War II. They prevented Hitler from completely taking over the world. Veterans protected our country in the Korean and Vietnam Wars, trying to contain communism. They wanted to protect the American way of life by not allowing communism to spread. Veterans protected our nation during the War on Terror in Iraq and Afghanistan. They protected us from terrorist attacks. War heroes have protected our country to keep the freedom and government system we currently have. They are the ones who have shaped and developed our country into what it is today. Veterans are important to our nation's history because they molded our nation. They are important to our future because they will be the ones continuing to mold our nation, making a better country. Veterans are also important because of the power they have to inspire many Americans. Their bravery and their stories, which can range anywhere from saving a fellow military friend by running out in the midst of firing guns, to risking their lives to save a village, reaches out to many, inspiring each and every individual. With this inspiration, some will choose to do the same and protect the country they love, while others will choose to pursue their dreams. A veteran's power to inspire others is amazing. They make a person feel like anything is possible, filling our nation with inspired and motivated people who want to do many great things. Veterans have much to be proud of. Their strength and their bravery protected our country. They have risked their lives so our lives are better. Our country is the way it is because of them, full of inspired and motivated people. They have done so much by creating our history, improving our lives, and making a future that is better for not just their family, but our entire country. So again, I ask two very important questions. Who are veterans and why are they so important?
On hand to present their awards are Commander Steve Breedy of the Decatur Post and 4th District Commander Richard Lineberry of the New Haven Post.
Will Michaela Freak please come up here? Megan Quinn and Carly Hockenmeyer, please. Michaela Freak plays first place in our little post competition.
Her essay will be going to district competition, maybe to go to national.
Rachel's essay was the winner for the New Haven Post. I'm also the commander of the New Haven Post, New Haven 2457. And we'd like to give you a check, young lady, for the outstanding job that you did. Rachel's will be gone to, or be given to the 4th District at our district meeting this Saturday at the Decatur Post. And then we have an individual who will go over all the Voice of Democracy winners from each post and from that, a winner will be chosen, and that winner will go on to the state and hopefully on to the national. Thank you.
Okay, again, I give a big thank you for all the people who participated in the VFW Post for contributing to this program. Thank you.
Everyone who joins the military has one thing in common. They must swear to their respective branch of service by repeating the enlisted oath. The oath of enlistment is something that every service member must promise and adhere to for his or her entire military career. By taking the oath, he promised to defend the Constitution against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. In addition, you must promise to obey the orders of the President of the United States
and all officers appointed over you, according to the Uniform Code of Military Justice. We would like to take a moment to recognize a few Bellmont seniors who have already made that commitment, and some that soon will, and upon graduation will be entering training for their respective branches. As I read your name, if you could please stand and be recognized. Sean Andrews, United States Navy. Anthony Birch, United States Navy. Caleb Mays, United States Army. Spencer Shute, United States Army. And Taylor Bird, United States Air Force. Thank you all for your commitment to serve our country. We wish you well in your future endeavors, and Bellmont High School is very proud of you. As you entered the theater this morning, you may have noticed a small table in a place of honor.
It is set for one. This table is our way of symbolizing the fact that members of our profession of arms are missing from our midst. They are commonly called POWs or MIAs. Veterans call them brothers. They are unable to be with us this morning, and so we remember them. This table, set for one, is small, symbolizing the frailty of one prisoner alone against his oppressors. Remember. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call of arms. Remember. The single red rose displayed in the vase reminds us of the families and loved ones of our comrades in arms who keep the faith waiting in their return. Remember. The red ribbon tied so prominently on the vase is reminiscent of the red ribbon worn upon the lapel and breasts of thousands who bear witness to their unyielding determination to make a proper accounting of our missing. Remember, the candle is lit, symbolizing the upward reach of their unconquerable spirit. Remember, a slice of lemon is on the bread plate to remind us of their bitter fate. Remember, there is salt upon the bread plate, symbolic of the family's tears as they wait. Remember, the glass is inverted. They cannot touch with us this day. Remember. And the chair is empty. They are not here. Remember, remember. All of you who served with them and called them comrades, who depended on their might and aid and relied upon them, for surely they have not forsaken you. Remember. Remember. Until the day they come home, remember.
Disregard. Blue are departed comrades. Point, off. On the ready. Aim. Fire. Aim. Fire.
That scared me.
Fire. Present. Pound. Present. Arc.
You may be seated. You know, as I've listened to our guest speakers and our students speaking, we've all tossed around the term frivolously, perhaps at different times, that freedom isn't free. But many of us who've not been called to make this ultimate sacrifice or potentially put our lives in the way of danger, oftentimes feel that we're owed a nice home, a comfortable living, to be able to treat others as we wish. We're not owed that. That opportunity came at a high cost. And those men and women who are on the stage today and in our audience and across the nation who are serving currently and who have served us have given us the right and the opportunity to earn those things. But with that great responsibility comes great responsibility. And we are owed them. We owe them for the sacrifices that they've been called to make and gladly did to try to make this country the best country it can be. And that is on as small a level as us here engaging in the classroom every day so that you can have a good job and keep this country economically the powerhouse it was meant to be. What these folks again gave us the opportunity to do is treating others with respect and dignity. Those are small, small things, but have great impact in defending and embodying the sense of being American that these men and women have allowed us to do. So I would challenge all of you students to remember that freedom is not free. It comes at a cost. These men and women were willing to pay the ultimate one, and the least we can do is pay them back by, again, making this country the best it can be from an economic, a political, and more importantly, a human standpoint. Thank you for everyone in attendance today. I know it was a great effort for some of you to be here. We want to especially thank the members of the American Legion Color Guard, the VFW, and the Honor Flight Board for taking time out of their days to come and remind us about what this day really means. We've been honored with your presence, and we'd like you all to remain for special lunch if you can today. Students, some veterans will be here most of the day in some of your classes. Please take an opportunity to ask them about their experiences and to talk with them about what it means for them to be a veteran. At this time, this concludes the program for today. I'm going to dismiss the upper levels first to return to fourth period.